Hey friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks Stuff Ukraine War Update for the 3rd of August 2025. We are just a fraction of 5 days, 5 days and a fraction away from Russia's answer. Anyway, before I begin, I'm your host, the author, David Applegate, author of the books The Boyhood of Cade, Pale Games, Into the Housebound, and The Erotic Tales from the Empire. I'd like to thank everybody who support my books and supported the channel. You can support my channel by buying my books, joining my Patreons, or buying my merch. All my links are in the link tree. Thank you to all those once again, and I invite you to join them if you haven't done so already. Alright, so the war of words continues. Ukraine bitches like little babies that Russia has attacked them. And then, of course, they leave out the most important part, that they also attacked Russia. But it's our right to defend ourselves. It's always the same, right? When there's a schoolyard fight, what do? You don't grab one and pull them aside. That's favoritism. No. Tell them both to cut it out. Come on, President Trump. Be the adult in the room and call out Zelensky. Now, Kiev has yet again uncovered another corruption scheme. Why, it's as if Ukraine is the most corrupt country in Europe. Oh, wait a minute. It is the most corrupt country in Europe. Now, that wouldn't be bad if the corruption index was like a fraction above everybody else. No, when it comes to corruption, there's Europe, Asia, Russia, Africa, the Middle East, South America, and then, 134, right? See, when it comes to the corruption list, they often list it in a weird order. Like, if you're more corrupt than South Africa, you're way down on the freedom index too. But the left, who defend democracy, comrades, are only standing up for one political party. So that tells you where they stand on democracy. That's right, democracy for thee. When it comes to rules are for thee, not for thee. Especially when it comes to Ukraine. And the UK jerks are just so full of themselves. They're so smug and self-righteous. And now we know why Zelensky was trying to shut down the National Anti-Corruption Agency and the Specialised Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office. Because they were getting too close to the gravy train, where officials and a number of personnel were taking bribes. And you know, when the little fella is taking bribes, they're just the bag man. Of course, they're also the fall guy. Now, photos without context. We do not know if the drone. That's no way that's a drone. But we do not know what they hit. And you can tell something's been dragged away. My guess is the missile hit something in that building, and the fireball from whatever they hit took out a whole bunch of cars. And isn't it great that you just got somebody in their Sunday best? Everything is clean. Everything is new. Nothing's faded or worn. It's amazing how many people cannot tell propaganda from reality. Or the fact that she's got an odd well, that those cars. This is what gets me. The shadows don't match. Look how dark her shadows are. It's like, it's a solid colour fill. Whereas, where's the shadows from this car? Was it added? Or, if you look around, wait a minute, his shadow don't match her shadow, does it? Look at those shadows, they're going that way. But his shadow, his shadow's there at his foot. He's got no shadow, no shadow, no shadow, no shadow. That car's added. My guess, it's sitting on top of that wheel. That wheel is probably just, I think it's added. It's overlaid on that wheel. You look at it, right? That wheel's there, but the car isn't. Where's the shadows and the lighting? This is dark. This is brighter than. Don't make sense. Now, of course, different car bodies can burn at different colours. That's true. But you don't have the different lighting and different shadows in the same photo. She's added. But my guess is, so were they. Look at the shadows. They don't match. And it's weird. But most people don't process what they see anymore. They're Zoomers. They're TikToked. They're TikToking to just... oh yeah, I'm a Zoomer. That Zoomer stare? That's just nothing but... Is my brain on? Hello? Knock, knock. You tap him on the forehead. Hello? Anybody home? All right, so the military administration of the Kiev military dictatorship has warned Ukrainian residents of another attack. Yeah. Well, once again, Russian-occupied Zaporozhye nuclear power plant has seen smoke coming from the auxiliary facility. Of course, it's the Russians who attack themselves, comrades, because the party's always right. Yeah. But Ukraine attacked Russia and then whines that Russia attacked Ukraine. But Russia's the aggressor, comrade, because the party is always right. The CIA has said, of course, that Ukrainian drones struck the military airfield, which they also claim to hit a factory. Have they hit anything of consequence? Or are these nothing but pinpricks? Hit a car. My guess is they can hit a car in a park yard. They can hit a car parked in a factory and they claim to have burnt down the entire factory. Now, Ukraine has claimed to have shot down 45 of 53 drones. Oh, we're back to this. We shot them all down and the rest went wandering off, you know. But here, they say, yeah, there's more drones. Yeah, look at the number of drones they fired in July. So they only shoot. So how is it 45 and 53 when they launch hundreds per day? Yeah, that's right. Now pardon me. Now the New York RAG has reported that two unnamed officials said the country would keep buying Russian oil. That's actually widely reported in the Times of India, that they haven't stopped buying Russian gas and oil and have no intention of stopping. Despite what promises have been made, many Indian companies have said that they will not comply with the US request. Now, there's been several corruption schemes, not just one uncovered. So now you know why Zelensky was trying to shut it all down. They're getting too close to the truth. And, of course, ads. Far out. Freaking ads. Alright, so looks like there's been a couple of updates of Ukrainian attacks. Of course, it's self-defense when we attack first, right? Alright, so we have fighting along the northern front, appearing to be no extra territory gained, though it is still this, of course, there has been some territory gained here, obviously. Oh, look at that. Why? It's almost if all the fighting at Kupiansk is merely to keep the Ukrainians busy at Kupiansk and to stop reinforcements from arriving. Though, you think they'd take care of this little sector here. No major offensive in the north. No admission that Tavis Yar has fallen. The Russians are closer to, firing on Krominska on a daily basis now. Close to, but not taking this entire village. The Ukrainians are managing to move in enough men and machines overnight to keep the fighting going here, and Russia is allowing them while they attack other areas. But the fighting continues. Not much has changed on the map. But they are they are fighting in the outskirts of Povorsk. Now, according to some, the Russians were kicked back. It's all over. It's all over. The Russian army's in disarray. You know, if I had a nickel for every time some Yuki on YouTube says, Russia's in disarray, they're going to collapse, in 30 days Putin is gone. Let's see, that's $4,000 a month I'd be making. No worries. I don't know why so many people just won't share the video, why the truth cannot gain ground. You can see over and over again these channels from Ukraine that are obviously lying, that everything they say cannot be verified, and a week later they're saying the same thing. Oh, Povorsk is holding out. War is complicated. It's not roll the dice, I score a 20, your man goes down, I take the town. This ain't Call of Duty, bro. There's so many people who have no grasp of the concept because they compare everything to their freaking video games. And I love video games, but you can't compare real life to video games. Most of these lard asses wouldn't even slog their way out of wouldn't even reach from Silovinka to Povorsk in a day, let alone the hour and a half that they're expected to slog to and from the battlefield every day. As well as there are people every day coming and going from these markers on the front line. Food, supplies, ammunition. It ain't like you can play. You get people who play video game all day. No, bro, you wouldn't last in combat if you exhausted yourself like that in real life. You'd be worn out very quickly. Because the problem is up here, you're thinking you're the man in the battlefield carrying around this, what is it, 5 pound, you got a 55-pound pack, you got a 15-pound rifle and ammunition and clothing and body armor and all this stuff. You're carrying almost your entire body weight, you know. You're carrying up to 60% of your body weight. That's about the max. So you think about that. You're not doing much per day. And then you add that to the cold. You add that to the fact that you got to be on the lookout for drones and snipers fire, and you got to be, you're not just strolling up to Bob Hoskins saying, "Hey, can you please leave?" Or you're gonna be getting into position. No, you're under fire from the moment you. You're probably under fire from the moment you leave your bunker. If you're lucky to have one, then it's not just a hole. Most of them are just holes in the ground. Some of them are sleeping on the front line. But these keyboard warriors, they're just constantly claiming that Russia's losing because they haven't taken Bavorsk. Oh, it was the same when they're losing. Oh, they haven't taken Chavashar, they're losing. Oh, or Ukraine's winning because they haven't conquered Ukraine. Russia's not out to conquer Ukraine. Don't let the left tell you what's happening. Don't let anybody control what you see. So many people watch one YouTube channel and suddenly think they're experts on the war, and then the next day they watch the same over and over again, and they don't stop and ask, wait a minute, if Russian tanks have been destroyed, if thousands of Russian tanks have been destroyed, how come Russia's still winning, advancing? You know, Russia doesn't have 1 million tanks. They don't even have... They probably had 10,000 tanks. So if Ukraine destroyed 1,000 tanks a week, you think in 10 weeks Russia wouldn't have any tanks? Or Air Force. If they really destroyed Russia's bomber force, how come they're still dropping bombs on Ukraine? How come they're still launching air attacks? I'm not saying Ukraine hasn't done some damage and that Russia hasn't lost any aircraft. But Ukraine is obviously lying. The media is obviously lying. This is all to manufacture consent to make sure that you believe you're winning so that you will support the war to keep up that feeling of winning. But you're not winning. Ukraine is not winning. Ukraine is dying. And Zelensky won't pay the price for the crimes against humanity. That is his attack on Ukrainian civilians. His boot on the neck of Ukrainian civilians. All those lefties who protested against the forced conscription in Vietnam War are nowhere to be found about forced conscription in Ukraine. Again, rules for me, it's once again, rules for thee, not for thee. Now, believe it or not, Russia controls Zaporozhye and the road to Zaporozhye. But Ukraine, now and again, gets in their way. And for some reason, I think, matter of logistics, manpower, priorities, that they have not pushed through further or faster. Again, it's because they have a low, they want to keep the casualties low. Do you know if there were 35,000 dead Russians per month, what army would you have? After 100 days, that's 350,000. The Ukrainians keep claiming that they just kill thousands of Russians. Yet when there's a body handover, it's 1,000 Ukrainians for like 6 Russians. You can check it up. The UN, the Red Cross, they all confirm that it's thousands of Ukrainians dying every week. For a few hundred Russians. Russians have advanced, and yet again, the maps don't show it. But of course, we can rely on Russian media in most cases because they have decided that propaganda is a waste of time. When you're winning, the last thing you want to do is propagandize the population because you have popular support. When you have popular support, the last thing you want to do is build distrust. This is the problem with the left. They have loyalty and obedience at any price. Vote blue no matter who. Now this is it's a dual purpose. Radio operator, drone operator. But he's also the officer. You'll have the officer and the NCO. Normally they would actually probably be here. Single file tactics. Rarely in. This would be a photo taken from combat, not to combat. And you're going to say, oh, it's CGI or whatever, Yeah, it's taken probably on a bright sunny day. Faces distorted, so it does make it hard when, they've distorted the photo so you don't recognise the faces. And they don't have their, they have their gear on. They don't have their, so they're coming back from probably from a night patrol. And you're going to say, yeah, but Dave, they're too clean. Yeah. But again, alright, this is probably a fresh patrol. Trust me, one of the weirdest things about military discipline, and I know it's strange and a lot of people will tell you that it happens, fresh troops, fresh uniforms are the only ones you get. When you're coming off the battlefield, and it's weird, I mean, literally, I'm not talking about your end of your day, I'm talking about these people are probably leaving, right? This is why they're photographed, they're leaving, okay? They've done their job, they're going home. They wouldn't be photographed otherwise. A lot of people tell me this. And if you see some servicemen being photographed, it's not because they're leaving the battlefield, it's because they're leaving the battlefield, okay? They're not going back to base, they're going home. Okay? And when they do that, when they photograph them, they clean them up. So sometimes I think, when I'm looking at a picture like this, I'm going to ask myself, is this because the media, aka the Ukrainian military, are so used to cleaning up their troops when they're going to photograph them that they're doing this with civilians? But they're not Ukrainians. Okay? She's probably Ukrainian. I think they're Indians. Starting to show Alright, again, over 1,000 a day. Remember, losses are not deaths, but they are losing thousands a week permanently. Now, this is where you shouldn't, again, I said mostly won't propagandize, but there's some things particularly you shouldn't repeat. Chinese military intelligence. Washington's threats of secondary sanctions are not threats, they're promises. And if Donald Trump, like, the lack of any real leverage, have you looked around lately? Sure, India's in defiance, South Africa is in defiance, parts of South America are in defiance, but where's their economies? That's right, their economies are equal to what? Exactly. In the toilet. China, which do you believe? China's unemployment rate of 4.5% or 14.5%? Do you believe China's GDP in the last 20 years has been an average of, went from 16% down to 5%? Or the average in the last 20 years has really been 5.8%, offset by debt? Their overall growth is, in the last 20 years, their overall growth is negative 3.8%, which you believe is better. Look at the Chinese economy. If the Chinese economy is so great, why are factories going to India or Mexico? And here's the thing that they're leaving out. Most growth in the last 2 years has been in Mexico, not. And these companies aren't fleeing the United States for Canada. They're expanding. Okay? They're expanding. You don't build headquarters in Little Canada where you don't. Nobody's moving their headquarters to Canada. That's bullshit. I've never seen a corporation ever say, yes, I want to be in Canada and pay twice as much tax as everywhere else. They are building a regional centre to avoid Canadian tariffs, because most of the Canadian business that Walmart does is in Canada with Canadian goods. It's weird how... So, you have Canadian Walmart, you have American Walmart, you have Mexican Walmart, you have Chinese Walmart. Okay? You don't have Walmart and then all connected to one subsidiary. No, you have multiple Walmarts controlled by one board. Walmart Holdings or something. I think so many people don't pay attention to business news, and that's fine, but they don't question. When they see something falling apart, they don't go back and say, geez, this channel, whether it be the Sun or the Telegraph or the Daily News, they don't go back and say, these pricks have lied for the last 30 days, but I'm going to trust them now. They're definitely truthful. No, I am telling you that yes, that I do not believe everything from the Russian media. Absolutely. And even less from the Chinese. But I bring it to you because this is what they see over there and what they base their decisions on. And that there is still more truth in the Russian media than the Ukraine media, because you can see it on the maps. This is a Ukraine map, not a Russian map. And these figures come from the Red Cross, not from the Russian media, or the Russian government. RT has confirmed that it gets secondary information from the Ukrainian and UN on the losses. And even the RT has said they have questioned. Now, RT has questioned the losses, and they too have put out articles saying Ukraine's losses are extraordinary. And they have questioned why Russia has not advanced faster and they said sometimes when the Ukrainian lines crumble, the Russians don't advance. And the Russians say that's because our strategy isn't to take all of this territory. But they can't say more than that. And yet people don't, because people are busy, I get it, not everything sinks in. But the one thing I don't get that sinks in is time and time again, you know the New York Times is propaganda. You know CNN is propaganda. You know the ABC's lying to you. You know half of YouTube's lying to you. Half of YouTube has fake viewers, for Christ's sake. Now, the Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will visit Moscow sometime in the next hour or two, maybe later today, seeking a breakthrough in negotiations. Now, the original 50-day window was reduced. Now, there are sweeping penalties, potentially including 100% tariffs and secondary sanctions on Russia's trading partners. Kremlin is seeking Ukraine's neutrality and reversing policies that Moscow believes discriminate against ethnic Russians. And of course, Witkoff is probably going to repeat the same thing. Zelensky will not negotiate until you withdraw for all forces from Ukraine. And Russia's going to say, net. Until Zelensky has a bullet in his head, I don't think anything's going to change. Because Zelensky is an asshole. Okay? Zelensky's not liberating Ukraine. He's been trying to conquer eastern Ukraine since he got to power. And before that, the last 10 years, Ukraine has been seeking to conquer eastern Ukraine and drive out the ethnic Russians who lived there long before the Slavic people from Poland and Hungary and all the way, and the Germanics mixed and settled mixed and settled and created Ukraine. There were Russians there before first. The Slavic people and Russian people, the only difference is how much mix they had with other ethnicities. There's no such thing as Ukrainian. Ukrainian is a Slavic language that is derivative of Russian. That's how come Ukrainians can understand Russians. It's a dialect, folks. Not a nationality, not a language, dialect. Ukrainians, however, have such a chip on their shoulder. Yet the reality is, folks, historically, they've been the bad guys. Of course, liberals love the bad guys because, in reality, they like anybody who puts the boot on others' neck because it makes them feel like a winner. And they love oppression narratives because they love to stir up the mentally deficient out there who want something to pity, something to champion, some cause. They're basically Don Quixote, folks. Now, NATO has basically either Baltic built up for a while and is extending their military footprint, and then making no secret that this is a anti-Russian alliance, not a defensive alliance, because they're not defending Europe against the invasion by Africans, Arabs, and Indians. No. They're not defending against rape gangs or criminals or doing anything about the drug gangs or the stabbings of white kids. No. This is about expanding NATO and spending millions of euros so they can play toy soldier. If there was something valuable to NATO, I would support NATO. But NATO is not valuable. It is a parasite. It is a weak institution that does nothing for the people of Europe. It does only serves the bureaucracy, to preserve the bureaucracy, and to enshrine its boot on the people's neck. And unfortunately, the people have so endured the paranoia of the left for the last 70 years that they're still hiding in their bunkers thinking that we've got to stop the Nazis. And it's like, bro, that war's been over for 70 years. But not in the minds of the morons who need their causes. They need their little drug fixes of dopamine because they're fake, phony parasites exploiting the paranoia and fears of the ignorant masses. And it is up to you to spread the message, because the more you educate with the facts, the more people open their eyes and start thinking and going, gee, what have they done for me? Take money out, millions of dollars in taxpayer money, and defend nothing. They're always... Notice, whenever they lose an election, look what they did with Brexit. They lost on Brexit, so what do they do? Wear down, undermine Brexit. Constantly whine about Brexit. And what do they do about NATO? Until recently, they hated NATO. The left hated NATO. They wanted to break it up until recently. So don't think they like NATO. They just hate Russia more, because Russia made the cardinal sin of leaving communism. So thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and please support the channel. You can support me on Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree, which you can find in my profile, or scan the QR code on the screen. Please and thank you. See you in the next video. Bye for now.